Hello, everyone, and welcome to United Way. Live United. I'm Terry Westerfield, and joining me today, I have friends in from Money Management International. I want to welcome to the program Karen Singleton, who is a counseling manager, and Deborah Williams, who is a certified consumer credit counselor. Welcome, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you.
Thank you,
I'm
Terry.
so glad to have you here. This has become a tradition for us. It's always right around the New Year time because why? Well, folks, we know that we've just rung in 2014, but for many, believe it or not, budgets are already getting strained. The holiday bills are rolling in, and soon we all know that parades are going to be rolling in the streets. So count in maybe some carnival-related expenses and an already sluggish economy, and wow. Ladies, the old bank account could be dwindling. Now, fortunately, Money Management International is here to help you get back on track financially. And MMI is one of United Way of Southeast Louisiana's what we like to call an allied partner agency. And MMI's mission is to improve lives through financial education. And that fits perfectly because of the other things that we do at United Way with IDA. We want people to know about EITC. So we've got a lot of this kind of conversation coming up in the next few weeks because it is so very important to get this new year off to a good start. And one thing I'm very interested in, and Deborah, please, or Karen, either one weigh in, we talk about how it is that usually that kind of first Monday, or right about this time anyway, after the new year, that people do really take stock. They see that they've got almost kind of when you think of holiday blues as being before Christmas and New Year's, but now it's coming afterwards.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We all realize that, I had a beautiful holiday season, and now I get those envelopes in the mail, or I get those emails, and I want to try to get all of this nipped in the bud so I can have a long-lasting, prosperous new year.
Absolutely, that's right. And some of the things that you can do, we've got some tips for dealing with that post-holiday debt. And the first thing that you want to do is create a damage sheet. You know, you might think you know what you spent, and, you might have tried to hide it from your husband or, didn't actually be honest, sneaking those bags in the trunk. But basically,
where did those new shoes come from?
You need to ante up. And basically, the first thing you want to do is get a list of all of your creditors, and the amount that you owe to each one of them, and how much the interest rate is on each of them, and total it all up.
Now, wait a minute. Stop for just a second, Karen,
Sure.
because to some people, that's important because you have different rates on different credit cards. So do you put them in just any order or just those with the highest, or is that how you're going to explain once we get an idea of just how much we might be in the hole for?
Well, you need to list all of them, and depending on which card you use the most, if you have a designated card that is for Christmas and that has an interest rate of 12%, and you're seeing now that, I spent more than $2,000 if that's what you allocate. I actually spent $3,500. I need to try to work on getting this paid down. So if my monthly payment is $100, and of that $100, $35 of that belongs to interest, then you're able to start sending them $135 monthly, and that will start targeting the interest will get paid, and now you will have more going to the principal so that you are getting that account paid out.
Right, and you can actually see when it's going to be paid by offsetting those payments with that extra interest. Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's what everybody needs to do. I think sometimes and that's probably, Karen, what you're saying. It's a good idea. You just get it down on paper, because otherwise you've just got all these different individual envelopes flying around. You're thinking, this is manageable, or I can do it, but it doesn't really set in until you see that bottom line figure.
Right. Once you see it in black and white, it brings the realization to you.
Yeah.
And those monthly payments are so small. The minimum monthly payment, $25 on a huge balance. I mean, you really can't make a dent. So
No, you can't.
definitely need to attack those.
Most important for a family, or family of one, a family of five, doesn't matter. You need to look at your monthly budget. Everything needs to be accounted for. It's more than paying the mortgage or the rent, the utilities, going to the supermarket. It's those other incidentals that hit you and throw you for a loop. If the children are needing something special for school, or if you have a blowout because of the lovely weather we've been having. So now I have to come up with an extra $125 for a tire, or my battery died. That's where you're putting money aside and trying to have that savings account set aside, or that rainy day fund, or slush fund, whatever that buzzword you want to utilize it for. You pay yourself first from each paycheck once a month, so that you will have that money and stop relying on the credit cards.
All right, now this is where pardon me, I'm going to stop because just to make it clearer, we're talking about initially credit cards. If you just wait and pay that minimum, though, you could be in debt forever, and the interest you'll pay is huge. But that's what Karen's talking about. But now, Deborah, you're saying, but pay yourself. How do you do that? What's more important, to save or to pay off?
Well,
or trick? Karen. All right.
That's
she's got an answer.
Tip number 3.
All right. Here we go. How about that?
Create a budget and a repayment plan, because you have to have that foundation. And once you look, what Deborah was saying, if you track your expenses, even just for a week, to try to get an idea what your average expenses are for that slice of time, and then you can calculate it out further. And you have to look, how often do you get paid? Once a month, every 2 weeks, once a week. And you've got to create a plan for the money that you have coming in to stretch for that period of time. So,
yes.
And that goes back to, as you said, the basics then, making a
Yes.
budget. And we're always constantly surprised by how many people who really don't know how to do that.
Right. We find individuals will say, "Oh, well, I have a budget. I take care of all my finances." Okay, that's beautiful. Your rent, your mortgage is paid, your utilities are paid, you have that extra cable, internet. But if something else is needed, what do? Now you're either going to borrow some money, or you're going to try to sell some stocks or bonds to get that extra. Putting money aside is always for you. And paying yourself is recommended 10%. But if you find 10% is too much, then you work with a dollar amount that I can put it aside and not touch it, regardless of what comes up. And if you start simply with $10 a pay period, at the end of the year, you're looking at having $100 saved, whereas you're trying to start with $100 a pay period. You're going and taking all of it out before that next pay period comes around. But if you're putting the designated amount that that you can put aside and not touch, that is your savings.
This is almost, all right, here we go, crazy analogy time. It's almost reminding me of those New Year's diet resolutions. If you try to lose too much, you're never going to do it. You're going to become dissatisfied. You're going to find out you can't.
Right.
But if you just stay on that diet, in this case, stay on the budget, that little bit adds up or
That's
comes
correct.
off, as the case may be.
You didn't get in debt overnight, and it will not resolve itself overnight.
Just like those holiday pounds.
Yeah, well-
Okay.
and let me say, budget is not a bad word.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
And that's part of, again, because it's part of goes back to your mission statement, everything. It's about education. And people should not be embarrassed if they don't understand the fine art of budgeting. It's not everyone's milieu. People have to learn. And there are always, as you ladies have just given us, some good tips. And whether it's a refresher course or maybe you've gotten yourself into some real problems, it's nice to know that Money Management International is there for you. In fact, you've always been here, and I want to make note of this because for years people in our area also knew you as Credit Counseling Services of Greater New Orleans.
Consumer credit counseling.
Consumer Credit Service Counseling, yeah.
Yes.
And for years. So you have this established name and reputation. And I bring that up, too, because that's important. Because sometimes also at this time of year, when maybe things get a little tight, you see a lot of or hear a lot of about other companies or groups that are asking you just come on forward and I can just give you this money, and then you could get yourself into a real problem there.
Yeah, Terry, and everyone should go out and check out our website. It's www.moneymanagement.org, and we've got a wealth of tools and resources out there. There's financial ebooks, there's calculators, there's budget planning tips and tools. I mean, there's just so much information that I encourage you to go out and take a look at.
And say that one more time, Karen, because right now somebody's running off to grab a pen and some paper. So go ahead one more time.
It is www.moneymanagement.org.
You've got all this stuff online. great tips and tools for those of us maybe savvy with the web or know what we're looking for. But for those who don't know how to use it or maybe a little concerned, when do you say, I've got to trade in rather the web for a real person? I've got to talk to somebody. What happens then? How do you go about it?
We have a location here in the city, and the address is 1215 Britannia, Suite 424, and New Orleans, and the zip is 70130. Our telephone number, 866-531-0511.
And once again, because let's give that information, because you can never hear it too often, especially those who are rushing to write it down.
Absolutely. Again, the address is 1215 Britannia, Suite 424, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70130. And the telephone number is 866-531-0511. And we have office hours Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 and 4:30 p.m.
Now, Deborah, is this the kind of place where you welcome walk-ins, or would you prefer they call ahead or go online or whatever it takes to set up an appointment?
Walk-ins are welcomed, and if you work with the schedule, we can set up an appointment. We offer appointments starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and our last appointment can be taken as late as 4:30.
And
so
we also do offer telephone counseling. If you don't feel comfortable coming into the office, you don't really want to see someone face-to-face, we do have services available 24/7, so you can always call in and talk to someone.
And Karen, is that a problem? Sometimes people are embarrassed to admit that they might have a financial problem. Is that why phone?
No one has financial problems.
Oh, no. I'm independently wealthy, but
But it's helpful to have someone to talk to, you know, and actually have that warm voice on the other end of the line to say, we can reach out and we can try to do something about this. Let's take a look at the situation.
what is the number one? I mean, I'm sure it varies by individual, but is there one financial, let's say, difficulty that most people seem to get into around here? Does it involve just the overspending? Is it mortgage or rent problems, or does it just run the gamut?
Well, it's complexity of everything that you've stated.
Okay.
Okay.
A little of all of the above, then.
Yes, ma'am. A little bit of all.
I agree.
And at this time of the year, it is coming off with the credit cards of the holiday spending, and with our lovely activity of Mardi Gras up and coming, that presents another, because we have our float riders, and being a float rider, I understand that it does cost, and you want to have fun, and you get caught up. That's New Orleans. That's what we do. But you can get prepared if you know that Mardi Gras is like Christmas. It's going to come every year. Mm-hmm. Only thing that's going to change might be the month. But it's going to come. We're going to have the same thing. So you plan ahead for that. If you have that adventure of being a float rider, you know way ahead of time. So you start putting a little bit aside so that you're able to get that purchase made for your trinkets and beads and whatever.
And likewise, those who just like to go to all the parades.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
might be going out more. Friends might be coming to town. You might be going out to spend more because you're dining out or you're doing this, that, or the other. It wouldn't, again, if you've budgeted for it.
It's not a hardship.
But if you haven't budgeted, okay, let's come back again,
Okay.
and you've gotten yourself into a little problem. All right, we know that we've got to kind of line item it out. These credit cards, maybe this is what I have in my bank account, savings, checking, otherwise. How else? If somebody is just really confused, they've tried to call in, and now it's time to come and see somebody because there is some serious difficulty going on. Maybe one of these credit card companies is calling, or maybe several of the credit card. You hear the nasty commercials, and we're going to get you, this kind of thing. People do in most cases, they want to rectify this situation.
Right.
So how can you help them do that? What is the step or steps?
And the first step would be to contact us, and then we would try to determine what is exactly that's going to best suit that individual's needs, and we would take a look at their income, take a look at their expenses, go over their debts, and then try to help them come up with a plan. And debt management might be one of those things. Budgeting may simply be. Some people may actually need to seek the additional advice of a bankruptcy lawyer. And we do counseling because with the changes to the law in 2009, I believe, you now need to get counseling, credit counseling, before you file bankruptcy, and you also have to get a counseling session after you complete your bankruptcy. And we do offer both of those types of counseling. And We also do counseling for student loan repayment if you are having difficulty with your student loans. And we also even just go over your credit report with you if you're curious about that and want to learn more about credit and how to improve your credit.
Karen, definitely. I mean, if you and Deborah could both, we'll back up just a little bit because I do want to talk about student loans because we have so many colleges, universities around here.
Absolutely.
And so I know that could be a problem. But people often you hear about credit scores and this and that and the other. And how is a credit score determined and what are the implications if you do not have a good one?
Well, the implications of negativity is what if your score is not a nice one. And right now, companies look at 710 as your top. Your credit plays a major important factor of getting a job, car insurance, buying a home, getting an apartment, opening up a savings account, opening up a checking account. Your credit does everything. So you want to treasure it like you would treasure yourself.
You need to protect it.
Yes, ma'am. It needs to be protected.
No, but Deborah, though, when we hear about getting a job, why would that be? Why do people, employers, look at credit scores?
Because that is going to let them know if you are the type of person you're putting down on black and white. Do you have the reputation to follow this beautiful resume that you've submitted? Are your ethics where they should be? Now, we all run into difficulties, and that's life. But your goal is to get that corrected. So what happened 6 years ago is not going to be a repeat every 6 years or every 5 years because you found what the problem was now that you're going to rectify and not get that way again.
And is that how long it takes a credit score to kind of come around? Or say you do have something, say you've run into difficulty and you have a low credit score, you know you've got to get it better because as you said, maybe you not only help you with a job, securing a job, but if you have a job, oh my goodness, I'd like to get promoted or I need to buy that new asset. I need a car to get to work.
Absolutely.
Or I have that dream of becoming a homeowner. So how do you get your credit score in shape?
First of all, you need to get a copy of your credit report. Everyone is entitled to a free credit report once a year from all three of the credit bureaus. Those bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And the website for that is www.annualcreditreport.com.
And let me interject here. Watch out for all those commercials on television that are promising the free credit scores and all of that because there's fine print attached with a lot of that, and there's a lot of memberships and things that you might be accidentally signing up for. So make sure you understand the only place that you can actually get them for free as part of the FACT Act is that annualcreditreport.com.
And that is extremely important. Thank you, ladies, for because you do. It's got a nice little tune you hear. It's kind of clever, the commercials, and one would think that's going to drive a lot of business their way. But, yeah, you've always got to watch out for that fine print. How you politically correct on that. It was very nice how you put that, Karen. But it is. And also it's important for us, I would believe, to look annually because wonder if there is a problem, a discrepancy of some sort. You need to rectify that.
Absolutely. And I like to, once you've gotten all three of the reports, I tell individuals the next year, get one at the beginning of the year, get one at the middle of the year, get the other one at the end of the year. If there's any type of ID theft, like the situation that we've just experienced during the holiday with Target and situation other department stores, credit cards. This will let you know if you had any type of ID theft that took place, you're able to pinpoint it and be able to see, well, it didn't happen in the first quarter of the year. Oh, this took place in June or whatever. And that way it helps when you need to do your legal on that end to help solve and rectify that problem. Now, I do have a telephone number for individuals who like to call and get that information. And the number is 1-877-322-8228.
And one more time, Miss Deborah.
All right. 1-877-322-8228.
And this is very important. I tell you what, I think I was going for a refinancing, when a few years ago or more now, when interest rates had gone down. I said, well, my husband and I discussed, this is a good time to refinance the house. And I found I've always been very proud of my credit report. And there was on it something that was in litigation, and it wasn't me.
Absolutely.
It was not me. And this is interesting because my husband and I have different names. What can I say? I'm an aging feminist. But there was someone who had the same last name as my husband. And this woman, whoever she was in litigation over something. And somehow, somewhere along the line, someone had just decided to tag her with him thinking it was me. Now, I don't know how that happens, who does it, if it's just, I don't know, computers can't do it all on their own. So somewhere along the line, someone input some incorrect information. And who knows how long that might have gone.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And I have the same type of scenario. Last name, Williams, very common. It's cousin to Smith. So
And Jones.
Brown,
and Jones.
yeah.
So, I was saddled with a student loan. And I'm originally from Mississippi. So, no, I did not go to school in Louisiana. So,
And that's why it's important for everyone to check and seek your services, some guidance if you need some help. And you just gave us a great segue because you said student loans. And that's one of the things that Karen, you started talking about earlier, because with today's, let's just say, entrance fees, everything, school cost a lot more than it did when I was in college. And you could spend years trying to pay that off. And sometimes I think in youthful enthusiasm, you can overextend yourself. You've got a huge student loan, but you also want that nice car, you want that cool first apartment, or you want this, that, and the other. Again, here you are, you can be a really smart person who's just graduated from a prestigious university, but you could get in trouble financially.
absolutely.
And you actually can get in the situation where you've got the bad credit and you're having a hard time getting that job because of student loans, because you had a little fun in college and got the pizza on Friday night instead of basically
Instead of putting that
saving
$10 as Deborah suggested into the savings.
Absolutely.
So
And certainly, if you find yourself in that situation, call us, and we'll kind of take a look at it. Same thing like what we do, just do an initial assessment and try to figure out where to go from there. And depending on the level of the delinquency, there are certain things that can be done, and we'll try to get you steered in the right direction.
Well, can you ever, or do you ever really intervene for a client? I mean, do you ever go to, whether it be a university or to a particular, I don't know if it's the credit card company itself, or is it that store? Say someone just really got in a bad shape, and I've heard about this depressed shopping. A woman has gone in and just, sorry, we're being a little, let's see, gender or too specific here, because I've seen guys. Have you ever seen a guy in a hardware store? No, but a guy or gal.
Home Depot.
Anywhere you've overspent, you've gone into the store of your desire and just kind of gone amok a little bit. What can you do, if anything, for this person who knows now they've made a mistake?
Well, again, going back to the credit counseling and the debt management, if an individual comes in and they decide that that's what they want to do, then they would need to commit to becoming debt-free. Basically the first step would be to eliminate those credit cards, and we cut them up and, get you started.
Do you really? I always wondered if that was, you literally will take them away and cut them?
Yes,
we'll
ma'am.
bring you a jar next time. No, no, we do have them. That was the first step, basically admitting that there's a problem and then starting to take positive steps to change. And yes, we do. But we have generally arrangements with the creditors that they'll, make certain concessions for individuals to try to, when they're serious about getting their debt paid off.
And is that to stave off bankruptcy as well and to help the credit score?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I would imagine the idea is they would rather collect something than nothing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And with bankruptcy, it stays on your credit report for 10 years.
Ooh.
When you're paying off these credit cards, this is not a settlement. If you owe $40,000 in debt, you're going to pay your $40,000. Okay? But each creditor will be paid in full. It's going to eventually report on the credit bureau that all accounts have been paid in full and not settled, because there's a difference between paid in full and settled. And even though it might take a maximum of the 5 years, because the debt will be paid out in 5 years. And 5 versus 10, okay, that's better than having the bankruptcy on your credit report for the 10 years. And once you've finished and realize, well, I do need a credit card for emergencies if I travel or need something, then I can reestablish myself and get back into the credit bureau, but you will respect that credit card this time.
And you're mentioning credit cards about that. There are some that are the prepaid or they only have a specific amount that are allowed. Is that something that's good or bad, ups and downs? How do you view that?
I think it's a good thing because it does get that person back into the credit world with a limit. It's a few banks and credit unions around that do offer that. And if they start you with $350, that lets them see how well you can handle that. Okay? And after you've done well, 6 months to a year, that credit company or bank would automatically increase your limit. And then they are going to tell you they will turn that prepaid card into a normal credit card. So actually, you've done everything for yourself, and now you're back on top again.
That's great. You've built up that trust again and showed the
That's
responsibility
right.
that you
That's
can
right.
handle. And as you said, sometimes it's not just overspending because you just went on a buying spree. Many people, especially in this area, live paycheck to paycheck. And as you were both speaking earlier, it's harder. You think you can manage your budget because you can pay that rent or that mortgage and the utility bills, et cetera. But at the end of the day, if you have nothing left, if there is not some kind of savings or the mad money fund, shall we say, you could get in trouble. You never know when illness can strike.
Absolutely.
There could be some unfortunate disaster beyond your control.
Or even just having to evacuate with the threat of a storm.
That's right.
And that's something, I mean, hurricane season is quite a few months away, but you bring up a very, very good point, Karen, that's something that people really should think about as early as now.
Absolutely. I mean, not even, what we're talking about is trying to plan for those periodic expenses. We know we've been fortunate these past few years that we haven't had to go anywhere, but, we know how quickly it can change. And if you don't have that money set aside and you need to go stay in a hotel somewhere,
Yes.
buy groceries or, eat out every day with your children or, you've really got to start considering that as part of your budget and your, spending plan because it can happen.
It is. I'm trying to think. Was it Isaac, the last one that most of us left for? Mm-hmm. And even, we weren't so sure that in 2013, I can't even remember the name of the storm, but we weren't sure what it could do because those low tropical storms, we think, oh, I don't need to evacuate. But next thing you know, it's raining. It's raining.
Yes.
It's raining. And we all know what happens when that continues for any length of time. Then you have flooding, and right, you've got to be prepared.
The power was out for over a week, right? And we had to buy
Absolutely.
gas for the generator. That's expensive.
Yes, it is.
That is. Oh, in fact, we had to leave town because we didn't have power for over a week. I couldn't take the heat any longer. We couldn't. We were getting ill.
It was rough.
Right.
And
I stayed
we're
at a
talking about
hotel
staying in a
locally, so
hotel.
yes.
Some people
So
don't even have enough money for gas.
So she had the expense of a hotel.
Yeah.
That's right.
Fortunately, I had family.
But these are all the kinds of things you have to take into consideration.
Sure.
Now, Karen and Deborah, believe it or not, this conversation has just zoomed through, and that's why I love to have you ladies on. You're going to come back through the year, and we'll talk about more things. But in these last couple of minutes that we have, are there some takeaways you want the listening audience today to really remember about Money Management International and some things that they need to know and should do? I know we've talked about the budget planning, and that, Karen, last good point, too, preparing for that. You never know what's going to happen around the corner kind of thing.
Well, this is actually kind of funny because this was my thing last year too. Basically to get a savings account, and I think that just like we were just talking about, it's so important to have that for that unexpected emergency, and you try to aim to maintain either anywhere from $500 to $1,000 maybe. That should get you through. And some of the things that you can do to get there would be to make those savings automatic. Start saving your loose change. We actually have a big jar at the house, and my husband will not give you a quarter. That quarter is in his pocket. It is going in the jar. And I actually had to, I was surprised I actually got some quarters out of him today. But normally, it's all in the jar, and that we pay for our vacation with that. I mean, that's a good way to save you money through the year.
And it's not painful because you're kind of just, that's, as you said, loose change anyway.
Right. And one thing which you could possibly get rid of cable or reduce some of the extra channels that you get. And save a portion of your tax refund. If you normally get a big refund, commit to put that into your, to start your savings there, or even bringing lunch to work. I know this, it says if you spend $5 a day on lunch, but we know lunch is a little more than that around here.
Especially.
It could really add up, and then you could use that money to create the emergency fund for that hurricane evacuation.
And how to save and how to get your financial house in order. Can you give us that web address real quick?
Sure. It's www.moneymanagement.org, or you can reach us by phone at 866-531-0511.
Thank you so much, ladies. And I'm Terry Westerfield, and you can check us out on the web, United Way, SELA, SoutheastLouisiana.org. And for all of us, thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week. I'm Terry Westerfield. Have a good day.